Joining me now, Republican Florida State Representative. He's calling for his resignation. He is Matt Caldwell. Why are you calling for his resignation?
There's just a clear failure here, Liz. Look, it's not just that the SRO didn't respond that was on campus. Then we find out 3 other deputies respond, but they don't go in. Then we find out what you just said, that not only is it more than 24 calls that they've reported, but maybe twice as many calls to the House over the past several years. It's not just about Mr. Cruz and the failures that happened here. What else don't we know about? We keep getting reports from Broward and Dade County right now coming up to the legislature that there's actually a bigger problem, that the sheriff's office and the school district haven't been arresting teenagers who are committing real crimes because they're trying to game the numbers on statistics for funding pieces.
Well, sir, stay on that.
This is really scary.
This is a really important issue you just brought up, and I'm so grateful for you, because all school districts across the country have to pay attention to what we're now going to discuss. It's called the DPI program in Broward County. It's where the local sheriff's office works with the school district about not putting teenagers in the prison system, getting them therapy or counseling in order to reduce the arrest rates and the prison sentences that are handed out. Because you're saying that what you're hearing is that the problems in Broward County could be deeper than we know. I mean, every day that goes by, we hear something that sounds like it just gets worse and worse, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And look, the intention of a program like that is absolutely something we want to do. You know, a kid who's got difficult circumstances of life, we don't want him to get caught up with gangs, get into bad behavior. We want to divert him from that and help that young man or woman, figure out a way to not get into that lifestyle. But if you've got kids that have repeatedly committed crimes that are dangerous and ever escalatingly more violent,
right,
and then you ignore that?
Yeah, and here's the thing, to your point, that DPI program gives it to the officer's discretion whether to arrest that teenager or not, or the juvenile or that young adult or not. I want to quickly talk to you about what a school, it's called Southwestern High School in Shelbyville, Indiana. This is what it's doing. It's now called the safest school in America. I want to see if you agree with this, sir. $400,000 it's spent on cameras with a direct feed to the county sheriff office, teachers, panic buttons, which calls in the cops, bulletproof windows and doors that lock from the inside, smoke cannons in the hallways to confuse shooters. Should all schools be doing this? What do you think?
Well, certainly I think people should be looking at ways to make our schools safer. I personally think one of the biggest reasons schools have become targets is because we've made them gun-free zones. We've told anybody in society that wants to attack our children that you can attack them at the school because nobody there can defend themselves except maybe a school resource officer. And if that officer, like in this case, fails to respond, there's nobody. There is no help to help solve this kind of crisis. So I personally think we need to remove those artificial restrictions. But I want to have that kind of flexibility. We're looking at things right now in the legislature, considering bills in the House and Senate to try to empower the sheriffs to have a greater role in securing our schools, whether that's arming personnel, whether that's having the kind of things you're talking about, visibility in the school. That's definitely the direction we want to head.
Sir, moments ago, Florida Governor Rick Scott outlining his action plan to help keep Florida students safe. A $500 million investment, that's what he wants in school safety and mental health. Meantime, Florida lawmakers now moving on a new law that would raise the legal age to buy a firearm to 21 and let certain trained teachers carry concealed weapons. So far, Florida lawmakers have rejected a ban on semi-automatic assault weapons like the AR-15 used in the Parkland school massacre. What's your reaction, by the way, to what the legislature is now working on?
Yeah, absolutely. The work that we're talking about doing in mental health, the work that we're talking about doing in making the schools safer, hardening the schools, being able to have a program where the sheriffs can really make sure that our students are safe, all for that. I'm very, very leery about the proposal to move the age. You're talking about 800,000 Floridians in our state who would go to sleep one night, the next day they wake up, they have fewer civil rights. And so that's a pretty big change. And I want to really understand what does that mean and why would we do that? And would that have really had any impact on what happened here? You're dealing with lone wolf terrorists. These maniacs, they plan, they plot, they spend months. They're absolutely a different breed altogether.
Matt Caldwell, good to have you, sir. Thanks for coming on.